All right. Well, first off, I just want to say hello, everyone. I'm Chip Baker. Uh, my good friend here, Tammy Matheny. We're here. We have the virtual book tour. So excited to have everybody on. Amazing people. Um, it's been great for us. We've done a couple, and everyone that's been on has been awesome. We've had to learn opportunities to learn and connect, and this will be a great one. And so, really been looking forward to this. What we're gonna do is just go through. We'll each give each person the opportunity to talk about their book, their journey, where they can be seen on social media, so we can get some show some love. But Tammy, you got some words to say before we kick it off?
I do. I love this post that I saw in easy ways to support your favorite author. I think sometimes we always think it's we have to buy their books. But if you enjoy listening to any of us or all of us, then I challenge you to apply at least one of these to the authors as you listen to it. Feel free to interact with the chat and let's have some fun.
Let's go get it.
All right.
All right. So the first book up is by myself. It's my second book. It's Effective Conversation to Ignite Relationships. And you know, there's a quote from one of my former pastors that I share in the book, and he says that our life moves at the speed of our relationships. And if you think about that, those people that are doing great things have great relationships. And those people that aren't, they probably need some better relationships in their lives. And so the key component that helps with relationships is having effective conversation in those relationships. And so my co-author, Dr. Oliver T. Reed, and I, we put together, it's our second book of a 4-book series. So we still have 2 more to go. And so we just give some tips, practical tips on how to have effective conversation in all types of relationships. And so that's what that book is about. It was really fun putting it together, collaborating with him. We had a great time. And so I think, did we have the other one there too, Tammy?
We do.
Oh, okay. and, uh, and so and the other ones, I've only done one. So the my most recent book is The Formula Chart for Life, and this is my 4th book. Just dropped it. Really proud of it. Um, man, dug deep for my journey in this one. So growing up, I had struggled in math. Had lots of problems. Barely passed probably every math class I took. Even in college, I think the professors passed me because they were tired of seeing me and asking them questions. So they just moved me on. But I took it and ran with it too, just so you know. But really struggled when I got out of college. Um, I was, for a couple years in education. I'm a teacher and coach, been doing that. I had an opportunity to co-teach a chemistry class. And so in both of those scenarios, I saw, we use formula charts. And I saw that formula charts help us get to our answer, and we can simplify, just plug in what we need, and we get the answer. So I was like, that we can apply that to life, right? So, I just took kind of some of the scenarios that I've experienced in life, and I have formulas based off of those. And that's what the formula chart for life is. It's really just formulas that can help people be successful in all areas of their life. And so just different areas by topic, use the formula, plug in what you need, and be successful in your life. And so that's 2 books that I wanted to highlight this evening: Effective Conversation to Ignite Relationships and The Formula Chart for Life. And so, Tammy,
I'll have to vouch. I'm in the middle of the formula chart for life right now, and
let's
it's
go.
great.
I gotta get that.
All right, I'm excited to. I should say I was going to talk about The Confident Athlete, which was my first book, and it really helped me develop my confidence because I'd always been told that I couldn't write, even in high school. Made great grades, except teachers would always say you can't write. So I was going to talk about this in the 4 stages that have helped me build a steady baseline of confidence. But I was reminded yesterday that This Is Good mindset, which is the book I'm going to share, is needed during this time of uncertainty more than ever. So I'm going to share that, and it's taken from the basis of the book is taken from a story that was actually in The Confident Athlete. And it's an African folktale. And some of you may have heard it before, but I think it's always good to hear it. I know every time that I share the story, it helps me and remind myself that I have to find the good in everything that happens. So this is good. There was a king in Africa, and no matter where he went, his best friend always went with him, because his best friend would remind him this is good. It could be the worst day in the world, and the best friend would remind him this was good. Well, they go hunting one day, and the best friend loads the king's rifle for him. Well, it backfires and blows the king's thumb off. The king is irate. So he throws his best friend in jail. All the way to jail, the best friend is like, this is good. He gets to jail, and the people are like, you're an idiot. This isn't good. Your best friend just threw you in jail. Nope, this is good. And let's fast forward a year and a half. He's still in jail, and the king goes out on another hunting party. Well, they're captured by a band of cannibals, and the cannibals are going to kill him and eat him one by one. Well, they were very superstitious and did not believe in killing or eating anything that wasn't whole. So they saw that the king had his finger missing, and so they let him go. So the king was like, oh my gosh, my best friend has saved my life. And he runs back to the prison, gets down on his knees, and begs for forgiveness. Please, 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 please forgive me. His best friend says, this is good. And he says, I know it was good for me. You saved my life, but I've wasted a year and a half of your life. The best friend was like, nope, this is good for me as well. And they continue to argue about it and debate it back and forth. But what the best friend was able to get through to the king was it was good for him because he wasn't in the hunting party where he could have been killed and captured. Now, a little bit dramatic, hopefully, from what we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. But the idea is this best friend never saw anything as negative. Everything was what it was, and he could always find the good. So the more we can cultivate that mindset, especially in the time that we're in, then the more successful that we're going to be. So this book takes you on a journey. That story is the foundation, and it takes you on a journey that I had with a team I work with, and how they cultivated this and lived and breathed it every day to help them overcome adversity. And one of the main strategies that I use is a formula, and that's unity plus positive emotions equals success. And that's in anything you do. If you stay united with your team, your organization, your relationship, whatever it may be, and you really rely on each other, especially in more difficult times, and you help create positive emotions, then you're going to be able to overcome. And actually, adversity will start becoming your best friend instead of an enemy. And another tidbit nugget from the book is broaden and build theory, which is a theory in psychology. But I've kind of taken it and started using it with teams. And the more that we build positive thoughts, emotions, then it broadens our ability to have different ways to respond to things that happen. So if you're struggling with a teammate, a relationship, your sport, your job, the more you can focus on what you do like, then that just broadens your ability to overcome whatever you're facing. So just a couple of tidbits from the book. I have put a link if you want to read the African folktale on there. So this is good. Start finding the good in everything that happens. Last thing is a monthly calendar I put out just to remind us that confidence is something that if we work at with what we say, do, and think every day, then we're going to start building a steady baseline of confidence. If you would like to receive it every month, my email is listed at below there. So send me an email and I'll put you on the email list. All right. Thanks, Jeff.
Awesome. Thank you, Tammy, for sharing it. This is good. How about that? So our next author that we have coming up is Mr. Christopher J. Worth. Man, there's no quitting this guy. He lives that way, no quit living. lots of positive vibes coming from him, and I'll give him an opportunity now to talk about his book. So, Christopher, you're up, my man.
I appreciate it. So before we jump in, I just have to say a very special thank you to both Tammy and Chip. It's an honor to be here tonight. I appreciate everybody that's tuning in, and I hope that people that watch us at a later date really receive value. I've taken actually a couple notes already from what Tammy and Chip said, and it's just an honor to be here. I'm super excited to be able to talk about the new book that I wrote with my co-author, Chris Wilberding, The Positivity Tribe. And for me, over the last 12 months, we've been spreading these positivity notes throughout the United States. We've actually spread over 10,000 of them now in 35 different states and 5 countries. And a couple of the authors that are speaking tonight have really helped with spreading the actual notes in their communities. And the feedback has been fascinating. And the whole concept of the book, The Positivity Tribe, is the power of positivity. And it's one person at a time. And I think we all can spread positivity. And especially during these challenging times, I don't think we've ever needed positivity more than we do today. Since March of this year, 2020 has been a very difficult year. It's been very challenging for a lot of people. And I think the whole concept behind the book started from these positivity notes. And the premise of the book is 3 high school juniors are dealing with some real challenging things in their own life. And they make a decision to form this pact, the Positivity Tribe. And they spread not only positivity, but also these positivity notes throughout their school as well as their community. And one of the things behind the entire book is the concept and the idea of we rise by lifting others up. And I think it's something that we all need to do more of today. We need to inspire people. We need to encourage people. We need to lift people up. We need to really be that force, that positive force in people's life. So the book is really fun. It's a quick and easy read. One of the main components of the book is our 7-point creed, which is be kind, be positive, be grateful, be encouraging, be humble, be generous, and be forgiving. And if you think about those 7 words, kind, positive, grateful, encouraging, humble, generous, and forgiving, they're things that we can all do. And it's an easy read for anybody, people of all walks of life, people of all ages that are looking to not only have some more positive in their life, but also spreading positivity in the lives of others. And if anybody wants to join our Positivity Tribe in regards to spreading positivity notes, it's real simple. All we need is your name and your address, and we send the notes to you. We have one very specific request. It's you post the notes, take a couple pictures, and tag us on social media, because that's how we spread this more, is one person and then the other person. When you compound positivity one person at a time, it has an awesome, awesome impact. And I love connecting with people. My personal email address is on the bottom there. We're really active on Instagram, and I'd love to connect with people. I hope the book impacts you. Our number one desire of the book and our hope is that each reader reads the book, it has a positive impact on them, and they give it to somebody else. And that person reads it, and then they give it to somebody else. And it goes back to the concept of one person at a time and the idea of the power of positivity. So I really, really appreciate the opportunity to be here. I'm super excited. I know a bunch of the authors that are here. I've connected with a couple of the new ones. And again, I just have to say a super, super special thank you to the Tammy and Chip for having me here. And I think this is awesome.
We're glad to have you, Christopher.
No doubt. Glad to have you. Thanks so much, Christopher. Good stuff. Well, our next author is Mr. Todd Gothberg, a great guy. Really excited to hear about his book and the things that he has going on. So it's on you, Todd. Take it away.
Thanks, Chip and Tammy, for the invitation. I appreciate this opportunity. And I want to kind of build on something Christopher said, because it really sets up my book. Before I wrote my book, I spent a lot of time living my book. And somebody said, you can't write your book until you live the book. In other words, you can't write something and tell a story that will impact people's lives and influence folks unless you've lived it first. Christopher's book, he's lived. And as a result of what he's done with his initiative, here comes this book, The Positivity Tribe. The same was with regard to my book, No Reservations. I was working for Volvo Construction at the time, and I was
Vice President of Sales and Marketing for North America. And one of my jobs was to grow market share with our dealer network. And we had 250 dealers across the United States and Canada. And we had the same product that went across the US and Canada, but some of our dealers had 3 or 4% market share and others had 30 or 40% market share. And I couldn't understand for the life of me when I started, how could these dealers with the same product and the same incentives and the same discounts and the same pricing structure have dramatically different results? And what I learned after visiting all of the dealers and spending lots of time on the road was it came down to people. It came down to relationships. People don't buy the product. People buy from the person. People don't buy the brand. People buy from a dealership, from the people there. It's about the relationships. And our product was one of the best in the market, but what it came down to was the relationship that the customer had with the dealer salesperson and the dealer staff and the parts manager and the service manager. And so essentially what ended up happening is once I figured this out, I realized at the end of the day, no reservations had to be written. And I had traveled on airplanes and I had stayed in hotels and I'd eaten in restaurants. And I realized over the course of all that time and all that travel, there were some things that set the best apart from the rest. And that at the end of the day, customer loyalty is built one relationship at a time. Again, back to, I'm going to give Christopher the nod there because it's about the relationship and the connection with the person. And every single person can make a difference. So I just wanted to share briefly 3 principles from the book. Tammy, if you can roll the first slide. First of all, I dedicated the book to my daughters. I have 4 daughters. They're all grown. But they really inspired me to be the very best dad. And I think at the end of the day, I've done a lot of things in my life, but there's nothing that I take more pride in than being a great father to my daughters. And so that's the ode to them. The first principle that I want to share with you is on the next slide. And it's 3 principles of the 10 in the book. The first one is just choosing to be positive. And we all live this, but every single day you wake up, you have a choice. And I realized that the folks that I ran into on the road, the folks that I ran into at the dealerships that were the most positive, not that they didn't realize what was going on in terms of the reality, but at the end of the day, they chose to be positive and optimistic and hopeful about everything that they were up against. And in this book, the story that I tell is about a guy named Rob turning around a hotel that's about to go under because the folks just don't want to work there and people don't want to stay there because the folks just aren't positive and they're negative. So that's really the first lesson from the book is every single day, positivity is a choice you make when you roll out of bed. And it's a choice you have to keep remaking throughout the day. The second slide that we'll share is about making their day. And Mike the mailman, many of you might not know about him, but he was the postmaster mailman in State College, Pennsylvania. And my daughter was a Penn State grad. And Mike the mailman, when he retired, there were about 9,000 people at his retirement party, and they had to hold it on the Penn State campus in their auditorium because every single day Mike the mailman didn't just sell stamps to folks, but he complimented them, he recognized them, he uplifted them, he would affirm people. Here's a picture of him saying nice sneakers, so as people would come up, the students would come up, he would say something nice about them, he would pour into them, he would affirm them, he would uplift them. And he literally made their day. And that's the other thing I realized going around our dealerships is those people that made other people's day just made such a great impact. And I've also learned there's no such thing as a neutral interaction. It's either positive or it's negative, right? There's no neutrality there. And people like Mike who make a difference and make an impact in people's lives leave a legacy. And making other people's day, regardless of what you're doing or how you're feeling that day, is hugely key. And it's one of the keys that I talk about in the book. And the final principle I want to share with you is on the next slide, and it's be remarkable. The world's filled with average. The world is filled with people that just kind of go about their job every single day and try to get over hump day and work for the weekend and try to get through the week. But those people that stand out, regardless of what they're doing, what role they're playing, I tell this to kids all the time who have part-time jobs, whether in high school or college, is treat that job as if it's an audition for that next job because you never know who's going to be watching you, never know who's going to be looking and seeing it. I'll just give you one example from my current job. I work in a hospital. I've been redeployed to screen and test for COVID. Every single
screen folks. I started this morning at 5 a.m. I was up at 3 a.m. and I screen and test people, primarily our doctors, all day long for COVID. It is not my job. It's not what I went to school for. It's not what I love to do. But I realized when these doctors come in and they're exhausted because our COVID unit is full and our ICUs are at capacity, but if I can pour into them and I can make their day and I can be somebody who's remarkable in what I'm doing, even if it's something as simple as screening, I can make a difference in their lives. And that's a way for me to find purpose in what I do, even if it's not work that I would have considered purposeful to begin with. So these are 3 principles that are played out in the book. It's about a hotel. This is my daughter and I visiting the hotel that ended up being the picture on the front cover a year after I published the book. We hadn't even visited the hotel, but this is up to a year after. And it just, for me, the book was this culmination of an entire career of figuring out the difference that one person can make in the lives of other people. So I appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit about the story. The book obviously goes into more depth, but there's 7 other principles, I think, all of which are important. At the end of the day, it's not just what you do, but it's who you're being when you're doing what you're doing. So thank you.
Man, that was awesome, Todd. I think that's going to get a boom. Hey, let's go.
Part of the Boom Club, right, Chip?
The Boom Club, baby. And I was warming you up too, VJ.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Thanks so much. I truly wholeheartedly believe that it is a choice. You know, you can choose that every day. It's important to strive to make people's day. Just hearing that made my day, just so you know, and I felt that it was remarkable. So next we have Vera Jo Bustos, a great lady. She does lots to give back and taking the things that she's been blessed to achieve and use those to help others. And so Vera Jo, you're up.
Thanks, Chip. And again, before I get started, I do need to give a shout out to Tammy on these 2 books. I have just thoroughly enjoyed, and I have to say that I give all of my clients, thanks, Tammy. Yeah, you got my book too. Tell them about the confident athlete. You know, I believe that as mentality coaches and as coaches in general, I tell everybody, don't just listen to me. If you can listen to anybody else, gain all the knowledge and information you can from as many people as possible. So everybody who's on this call and everybody who is watching at a later date, definitely just look through, at least if you're not going to get the book, go through these authors' websites and just see what knowledge and information you can soak up from everybody on this call. I know, like the others already said, I've already taken so many notes. I'm just always so excited and eager to continue learning from everybody else. And a little bit of what Todd had said earlier, if you talk about not being able to write something until you've lived it first, that is exactly what a mindful journey is all about. It's about my experiences playing professional basketball from Greece, but I take it from a little different standpoint. If you hear or read a lot of memoirs or travel journals or anything like that from a professional athlete, from that standpoint, we always hear the good. We always hear how they just overcame everything, but we don't really hear a lot about the struggles. And I wanted to share from the standpoint of vulnerability, because I believe, and this is through the clientele and the young athletes that I've worked with, that young athletes, they see their role model, they see a professional athlete, and they see all the amazing things that they do. And they think, I could never be that person. I can never do what they do because I have these doubts, these self-limitations, these perceived weaknesses, these negative thoughts that go through my mind. So because I have that, I must be less than, I must not be good enough. And I wanted to blow up that myth that that's definitely not the way it goes. So through this book, I share a lot of my vulnerabilities of what I was feeling and living out there. Yes, I was living my dream, but I still had my doubts. I still had my limited self-perceived weaknesses, all those negative thoughts going through my mind, and it would bounce back and forth. And like Todd said, we do have a choice. And I believe lessons are best learned through story. And so I share my story, and interwoven throughout the story are little tips, golden nuggets, as I like to call them, of mentality training. Some of the tips and tricks that I learned along the way interweave throughout the pages of my book that, hey, you're reading the story that makes it sticky. We learned the lesson, and this is going to help us remember how we can get through those moments of doubts, those moments of feeling like we're not enough, that we're less than, and how do we overcome it. So it's written as a journal. So it goes through my day by day approach, and it kind of goes through, the vulnerabilities to how do I overcome it. I'm feeling like I'm on top of the world and going back to starting all over again. So it's very much a journey of the mind, and starts off as an adventure, and you'll see there's 2 parts to it. It starts off very much as an adventure, exploring Greece, talking about the Greek culture, and then toward part 2, that's where the transformation begins. And I challenge the reader to go on a mindful journey of their own throughout the pages.
And I'll have
Awesome.
to say, it is an awesome book, and she does share a lot, and there are a lot of lessons in there.
Good stuff. Well, thank you, Vera Jo, for sharing your mindful journey. Good stuff. Well, our next author is Mr. Jeff Forster, really good guy. Another positive guy that's doing awesome things. So excited for him and this book. Been following his journey, his path to doing the book. And so truly excited to hear about this. So you're up, Jeff.
Yep, thank you so much, and Tammy as well, and then the other authors that went before me. I really am excited about being a part of this group. And it's before we got started, Chip said to talk about how we came about the book, and what's phenomenal is the outpouring of support that I know Christopher has provided and Chip has provided. That early on in the game, I had started following Chip after he was on Christopher's podcast. And I saw that he put his book out. And so I sent him a message and said, hey, I want to find out more about this whole book thing. And he graciously talked to me while he was waiting for his son for probably about an hour. And that's what's really cool about the people that are on here. And really where I see benefits of social media is people pouring into each other. And so I want to say thank you to Chip for taking that time to do that, because I remember going through the discussion and him going, you need to write a book. You've got like at least one book there when I was talking to him. And so it was really a phenomenal experience that I won't forget. So Chip, thank you.
My pleasure.
So where this book came about is very similar to what the other authors had said. Is it's living life, and it's then sitting down and wanting to put your legacy on paper. And for me, I don't feel like that I have all the answers. I'm learning as I go through life some things that have helped me. And that's what this book is. It's very similar to what BJ just shared a second ago. It's me telling stories about how I've overcome things, or how I've been able to get through certain areas in my life that have held me back. And so for me, the 4 key points that I found, it's understanding your strengths and weaknesses. It's the importance of communication. And for me, it's not just the external communication, it's the communication that goes on between your ears. And each of the authors have talked about the importance of what you tell yourself. And I heard this one time, so it's not an original from myself, but you have to start telling yourself versus listening to yourself, because so often the words just, for whatever reason, I don't know why we're wired this way, we always go to the negative, or we go into a fixed mindset, which will take you down a dark path. And so you have the power to talk yourself into doing great things. And like Todd had shared, it's that intentional focus of being positive. It's going, okay, I could be a negative spot in this line of screening tired doctors, or I could be the bright spot. And so that's super important as well. And like Christopher had said about the fable of the students making a decision to be positive and taking action. And so that's so critical on the external and internal communication part. The other one is developing yourself. And each of you have already shared this as well, is the importance of coaches, mentors, a tribe, a confidant. You need different people in your life to help pour into you. And the other thing that I'm also a firm believer is you can't delegate your own development. And so often in our society, we wait and expect somebody to say, look, I want this. And we just wait and we wait and we wait. But for me, what I'm learning is if I want something, I've got to go do it. I've got to take it. I want to learn it. I've got to figure it out myself. And then the last part is setting the proper course. And that's just how I've been able to figure out how I can set big life goals that I'll never achieve. But if I can strive towards that goal, I will far exceed anything that I would have ever put. Because a lot of people, when they're setting goals, it's a finish line. You cross the finish line and you go, now what? I know that's what I did on countless occasions. And so what I'm learning is setting a really big goal and then building strategies and tactics towards that goal. And so that's what this book has been, an Unleashed Potential. And what I set out to do with this is just, I hope that at some point it adds value to any of the readers that decides to purchase either my book or any of the other authors that are on here today. And I'll leave this with you is when I got finished writing this book, my son was here and I got done, I typed it, and every author can relate to this as you kind of sit there and you go, oh, I'm done. I just hit the last period. I'm done. And I turned around and I said, I go, hey buddy, I'm done. Now he's 12. And he goes, you know what, Dad, even if nobody bought that book, you know that you finished it. And that's when I knew that I've succeeded with this book, because that's a lesson that he got. And it also poured into me that I could be proud of this. Now, I do, like everybody else, hope it sells a ton of copies, but that's not the purpose. The purpose was to put something down that adds value to me and that hopefully will add value to others. So Chip and Tammy, I really appreciate it. And the other authors, Todd, DJ, and Christopher, thank you for allowing me to be a part of this and wrap it up.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff, so much for sharing that story. Great to hear that, man. It gave me chills when you talked about your son. That's good stuff for him to be able to see that and see you finish, man. Great stuff. Well, before we wrap it up, Tammy, you have any final words in closing, and then I'll close this out.
I just am, blessed to be a part of this group. I think we had a common theme that I'm seeing, that the positive mindset. And I think it's important to remember that this group of speakers aren't successful, thus they have a positive mindset. They had a positive mindset first, and cultivating that can lead to success in whatever you're doing. The last slide here just shows our previous book tours and some other great authors that will inspire you. You want to take a picture of the link below to make sure you catch them. But again, Chip and I, you don't create success alone, and we are blessed with the people that we're finding ourselves surrounded by. So thank you guys. And remember, you don't yet buy a book if one strikes you, but you can help authors not just by buying books, but sharing their information, following them on social media and so forth. All right, Chip, thank you.
All right. And I started out with a quote, like I said, our life moves at the speed of our relationships. And it's about, putting yourself around quality people that can teach you quality things. And so for me, I truly believe that the authors that were a part of this are great people, that are great authors doing great things. And so, I wish you guys all continued success. I want to say again, thank you so much for taking the time to be on here with us, because I know your time is valuable and limited. So again, keep doing your thing and go get it.